So I'm here to give you an update on this tragedy that we're all dealing with today. Things at this point, now it's a little after 6 o'clock, appear to have stabilized a little bit. We are not continuing to receive new patients being transferred to us from the scene at Fort Hood. Right now we have 10 patients in our facility, 4 in the operating room, and others are being evaluated down in the emergency room. We are continuing to keep all of our operating rooms open and available, but at this point we don't really anticipate additional patients being transferred over from Darnall. So at this point we continue to be very sympathetic, and we're trying our best to make sure we can accommodate any family members, but right now the situation appears to be fairly stable, and we have active medical management going on for all the patients who have been transferred to our facility.
Can you talk about the injuries?
I'm sorry?
Can you talk about the injuries?
These are all gunshot wound patients. Some of them have some accompanying orthopedic injuries as well, but that's what they all are.
Can you elaborate on that? Tell us about from what you know, the wounds you know, and the conditions these 10 are in right now, sir.
Yeah, the ones who are in the operating room have very, very serious injuries, but we're expecting at this point for them to do okay. They're still undergoing testing, some of them, and obviously those in the operating room are still undergoing active surgical treatment right now. So I can't give you conditions in terms of critical or serious, but these are all very seriously injured folks that are needing immediate attention, but we have not classified them with any particular category.
To your knowledge,
Any patterns of the wounds, areas of the body they tended to be shot at?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that.
Dr. Cotton, you mentioned that you expect them all to be okay. What gives you that idea at this point, since you're not clear on how everyone...
The information I have just from the operating room and the surgeons, they feel like these are conditions that they can manage. And we're not anticipating we're going to have to transfer these patients a second time to any other facilities. We feel like we have good, capable medical capabilities right now to take care of these folks, and so that's exactly what we're doing.
Doctor, at your last
Yes, sir.
briefing, I believe there was a report of 10 to 11 on the way. Did that
Right.
not happen? Or?
Right. This is a very dynamic situation, and we did not receive all the people that we initially got reports that would be transferred here. So my assumptions are that some of those got transferred to other facilities in the area.
Did you say male, female, ages on any of these soldiers?
I honestly don't have that information specifically.
Doctor, can you tell us about the decision to close the hospital to everybody else? Tell us about why that decision was reached.
Well, primarily for safety issues. This is, again, a very dynamic situation. We were getting mixed information from security, both over there and here. We didn't know exactly what was going on. And so, first and foremost, we wanted to protect all of our patients and all of our staff here. So we took that action to close down the facility as much as possible so we could be sure that there would not be any additional kind of violence that could occur.
So it was a security decision, not a strain on the resources here, then, right?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
It was a security decision to close the hospital, not a strain on resources?
No, there's not been any strain on resources. We've been very fortunate. We've had a huge outpouring. The community identifies Fort Hood as our sister community, and they've gone out of their way. We have a huge outpouring of people who are donating blood, offering to bring in food and support for the families and all the people involved in this tragedy. There's not been any inability or lack of resources here. This was purely a security question on our part, and we are continuing to keep the facility somewhat locked down right now, just so we can maintain that until we are 100% sure that it's very safe.
I'm not as familiar with all of the hospitals in this region. Of all of the people that were injured, you said there were some that were taken to other facilities.
Right.
Would the more serious ones be taken here?
Yes, that's probably, those decisions were made by the medical personnel over at Darnall. We are a level 1 trauma center, the level 1 trauma center for the area, so we typically get the most seriously injured patients here. But the folks that were doing the triage and doing the evaluations on the ground make those decisions where they transport the patients.
Were they all transported by ambulance or by air, or?
I believe it was a combination of, Dr. Bobby Greenberg is our Vice Chair of the Department of Emergency Medicine, has been involved in the actual hands-on care of all these folks today. Bobby, can you tell us, I don't know exactly how many came by air, ambulance, or?
Yeah, truthfully, we lost count of who came which way, but it was a combination of resources. Just like Dr. Couchman said, all the hospitals are working together, so are all the EMS services. All the different 911 providers and helicopter providers all worked together to provide the care. So patients came in by air and ground, both from the scene and for inter-facility transfers.
Dr. Greenberg, can you tell us about the wounds and conditions? Dr. Couchman wasn't as clear since he's gone down there. You've been there, can you tell us what kind of wounds these individuals are facing?
The wounds were all consistent with gunshot wounds.
The body that they might have been
Well, there were multiple patients, so there were multiple parts of the body that were injured. As far as specific patient information, I'm not really at liberty to give that to you. Some of them, yes.
How about the ages or men, women, anything
They were all patients to me. I can't tell you.
Could you tell from any of the wounds how far away that the gun might have been when it was fired? It had to be close range with a handgun, but could you estimate the distances?
No, that's not, forensics is not my area of expertise.
Do you know if they're all soldiers at all, civilians, any of them?
Do not know. When a patient comes in that's critically ill or injured, we just take care of them.
Were they in uniform?
Not that I recall.
What are some of these patients saying? What are their remarks? What are they just, obviously they're physically injured, but I mean, was it a mental shock as well?
Well, I mean, we have to respect patient confidentiality. I mean, you can imagine what state of mind you'd be in if you were shot.
Is the ER still closed to the public?
No. We are screening, if you will, the patients to make sure from a security aspect that everyone is legitimately there for care. We are not closed to taking care of patients, but we are carefully screening to make sure the right people are coming through.
But in terms of the lockdown situation, what is the situation with that right now?
Well, the overall facility now still has guards at our perimeter, and we're checking people's IDs. If somebody wants to come into the facility, if they don't have a name badge on, they're not getting into the facility right now. If they're coming to check on family members and they can identify family that's not involved in this tragedy, but we are screening them and verifying who they are and that they're here with a very valid purpose.
Dr. Greenberg, can you tell us about, there were 4 in the OR, I think Dr. Couchman said, 4 individuals from this incident in the OR. The other 6, can you tell us their state right now? Where they are?
All the patients have been admitted to the hospital and are being cared for, some in the intensive care units and some on the floors.
And so 4 of them are actively being tended to in the OR, though. Did I understand that right?
I believe everybody's out of the
You know,
OR.
as of about 10 or 15 minutes ago, that was the last count I heard, that there were still 4 ORs with active surgical procedures going on, getting these people stabilized.
From the incident, there were a number of people that were deceased from the shooting. How many of those deceased were brought here?
We didn't get any deceased. They don't transfer deceased
How
folks
many
here.
of them died here?
I'm not aware of that information.
You don't have reports of any deaths?
I don't.
Have either of you been in touch with families? How are they doing? Are they in one area downstairs?
We do have an area that's kind of set aside for the families, and we have chaplain services over there. I personally have not been in communication with any of the family members, though.
Have they gotten to see any of their family members that are in the?
I don't know that, so I can't answer that
Do
question.
you have?
We can take about one more question.
Do you have investigators here that are also gathering information in terms of the crime scene or the crime that occurred?
I don't know that for a fact, but I was told that there were some. I believe that is the case, but I'm not 100% sure of that. I know there's been a lot of security people here, and I don't know exactly what all their roles are.
Can you just repeat one last time the number of patients you have here?
There's 10 people on site right now.
Dr. Greenberg,
Thank you
your
all,
first and
sir.
last name, please, sir.
Robert Greenberg.
Greenberg?
Yes, sir.
And your title, sir?
I'm Vice Chair of the Department of Emergency Medicine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.